Welcome to the Happy Tans podcast, where you will learn everything you need to know about running a successful sunless tanning business. We will interview some of the industry's top business owners to find out how they took a passion and turned it into a prosperous business. And here's your host, Grant Conscious.
Hello and welcome to the Happy Tans podcast. On today's episode, we have Lauren Bidlock from Glitz Spray Tanning in Alberta, Canada. How are you doing today, Lauren?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing insight with all the Happy Tan listeners.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. If you want to kind of just fill us in a little bit of information about you and your business and how long you've been in it and whatever else you'd like to share, that'd be wonderful.
Awesome. So I opened Glitz Spray Tanning in 2011. It was just as a part-time business, did spray tans a couple times a week, rented a little room out of a hair salon. I started to get a little bit bigger. So I had opened my own studio in 2014. And from there, we've gone full-time, and we've been going up every year from there.
That's awesome. And that is you're a little bit different business being in Canada. Obviously, you're the first Canadian person on the podcast, so thank you very much. And might be a little different for you as far as that goes, but probably a lot of similarities, and we'll touch on those a little bit later in the interview. So as everybody knows, and as we talk about on all the podcasts, being an entrepreneur and owning your own business, it is a roller coaster of emotions and everything in between, ups and downs, highs and lows. So I kind of like to touch on both sides of that, the coin, so to speak, the worst and best entrepreneurial moments. I'm sure that you have specific times that might stick out in your head. If you want to share both ends of that spectrum, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with the worst. I think that the worst thing is more like the anxiety slow seasons give you, spray tanning. And I think most areas, most girls deal with it, that there is certain times of the year just aren't as busy as others. And I'm obviously constantly thinking in my head, like, what can I do? Why aren't people coming in? But I think it's just the season. There's not as many weddings going on, stuff like that in the winter time. So from November to about March, we're a little bit slow. And so I'd say that that's one of my worst features as a business owner is I panic a little bit too much, even though I know this happens every year. And one of our best, I would say the best thing that we did was open a studio. It was a huge risk. I went from being part-time, quitting my job, just assuming I'd be able to do this full-time. And I completely relaunched my whole business, got a new website, which brought me a lot, online booking system. And we literally tripled our clientele within about 6 months.
That's great. And how long have you been in the physical location? I'm not sure if you mentioned that earlier.
About 3 years.
Okay, great. And
yes.
And has it grown year over year?
Yes, it definitely grows year over year. We still have those slow times in the winter. I mean, this year the winter didn't slow down as bad as other years, but now in our busy season for weddings and grads, we're seeing upwards to 300 to 350 spray tans a month we were doing. When I used to be part-time, when I first started, I was doing like maybe 10 to 12 a week, so it's grown quite a bit.
Yeah, that's considerable, 500-600% growth in
yes.
a few years. That's pretty amazing. And you, as many people as you touched on, the winter months are a little bit slower, and that's times I tell people to make sure that they don't get down and to focus that energy that they would use on, onto their business in ways that they can grow it and get ready for the next year and kind of alleviate some of the time, because when it's crazy time and the busy season, you don't have time to do anything else. So if you can kind of help to streamline some things, such as the online booking and other things like that, that can make a huge difference in your business and to help you grow even more.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always recommend everybody takes time and works on social media pages. And doing custom ads. So customizing your ads to your business to make it look like it's yours, so it doesn't look like anybody else's, to stand out. So that's what we do. I spend a lot of time on social media, and we have tons of programs that we use and make everything ours so that it doesn't look anything the same. And we get compliments on them all the time. So that definitely takes some work. So we definitely do more social media marketing in the slow times. And also we do training in the winter. So we teach training as well, and we don't do that at all in the summer. So I really promote that in the winter. I know there's not every girl does training, but that's one thing that is kind of gets us through our slow season, and we run training classes.
Yeah, that's great. And another thing you can do to maybe, I'm not sure, it might be kind of the way you were saying it, is kind of prepare all the social media. If it's a slow time, looking forward the year, the same events are going to happen, the same Valentine's Day, all the July 4th, all these things for the United States at least, all these different holidays, why not go ahead and create all those ads and just have them saved? You can maybe leave the pricing off because you might run certain specials or different specials, but at least have the rest of it ready, and you can roll those out and have them ready for the whole year. I mean, all the events and things that are coming up. If you just look at a calendar, you can go ahead and set that up during the slow time. So that's a lot of that'll save you a lot of time.
Absolutely, and also Facebook has scheduling on their posts. So if you even wanted to do, I run into it so many times. The girls like, oh, I don't have enough time for social media, but social media is totally, you have to have a social media page nowadays. Even if you feel like it's not helping you, it could bring you one customer and it's worth it. So you can put scheduled posts for your whole week or for your whole month, and it'll just post if you don't think you're going to have time in the future.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. I did forget to mention that, so thank you so much. That's a great way to kind of set everything up, automate as much as you can to save you some time. And on that note, Lauren, as your business has grown and as you went from working by yourself, I believe you have people working with you now. Is that correct?
Yes, I have a part-time person.
Okay.
Well, 2 part-time people that work with us. Okay,
great. So as your business has grown and as it's changed from, being mobile to a physical location, how has that changed for you on a daily, weekly, monthly basis as far as the actual work and things that you do? Are you still spraying a lot, or are you doing more management?
I'm still doing most of the sprays because most of the people that we had from back in 2011 we opened are a little bit hesitant about getting it done by someone else. So we're trying to transition people into that right now. I think I'll always continue to spray because I love doing it. I have cut out a little bit of my hours, but I'm still doing 90% of it. We have thought about expanding to have 2 rooms going. That might be an option in the near future. I'm still kind of on the fence about exactly what's going to happen with my other part-time staff. I want to go bigger, but at the same time, it's nice to be able to have the hands-on with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you sound like, I know a lot of people really love the spraying and they don't want to get out of it. You remind me of kind of that Fabiola talked about on an earlier podcast where she had the carpal tunnel and was like, I have to get back in this. And she eventually found a way by finding a new gun that could accommodate the pain that she had so she could keep spraying. So it seems like a lot of people have that passion. I think it's good to keep doing that and not get away from it completely as it grows. And it sounds like a lot of people that own their business, no matter how big it is, they're still a part of it. And still, they have those people that they still want to take care of like that.
Yeah, and I feel that people like seeing the owner at a business as well. If they're coming more times, I've known that people have made comments about it before. It's like, oh, it's nice. They like to see an owner that's hands-on.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That definitely helps as well. So there's a lot of things that have gone into your business over the years, a lot of things that help you transition from the mobile business into a brick and mortar physical location, a lot of things that you did to help grow and market your business. But if you had to pinpoint one thing and say that this was the best thing and the most beneficial thing that you've done throughout the years, what would that be?
So I'm going to go back to the website for that. Having a good website that has a good CEO to be found on Google. We get a lot of referrals, but most people now are looking up spray tan basically through Google if they don't know anyone that's got it. So in our area, we are pretty much in the number 1 spot on Google, depending how you search, but we're right at the top either way. And if it's not referral or social media, that's where they're coming from. And I'd say that the biggest chunk is coming from Google. And having that online booking system on the website is huge because I find that people sometimes get scared if they've never had a spray tan or anything before, and they're like, oh, I'll call after work, and then they never call. It just gives them the option to do it right now, not cancel, and that has been a huge benefit. That online booking system also keeps our phones pretty open. Sometimes if I'm by myself, I can't answer the phone. And I'd say 80 to 90% of our bookings are now done online, and people love it.
Yeah, that's great. I'll touch on a couple of things. Obviously, I'm a web guy, so hearing that the website and SEO, search engine optimization, or AKA being found on Google, has made a huge difference in your business. I love to hear that because I know that it's very beneficial for any business, especially local service businesses, and also with the online booking. As much as people want to have their phone number, want people to call and text them, yes, people will do that, but ultimately they want as little friction as possible. If I can go online and book anything, I'm going to do that over calling just because it's so much quicker. Obviously, there is the need to have the phone number in case some people want to reach out, but the online booking helps to reduce that friction, and the least amount of steps that people have to take to schedule it, the better, especially like you said, if they're new and they might be a little nervous. It's an easy way to kind of get them in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing with websites is when I hear girls are messaging me like, how come I can't get the business? How come I ran out the business? The first question I actually ask is, do you have a website? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, no. And spray tanning is one of those services that it's not like hair. It's not like nails. People don't know what to expect to go in. A lot of people are still super new to spray tanning. So you need to have somewhere that they can go to refer to and have the most information possible. Anytime we get a new question that I'm like, wow, I've never heard anyone ask that before, we're adding it to our question and answers online. And we barely have anybody calling and asking because our website is so informative.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'll stay on that topic for a second, again, because the website is so important. A lot of people just stick with a Facebook page, and I get it. And some people might not see how much they're benefiting from a website, but for a lot of people, it's not as much. Obviously, they're going to go find questions and answers and things like that, but also, like, if I'm looking for a business, how legitimate is this business? Do they have enough of an investment to have a website and all these different presence online? I want to kind of cross-reference that and make sure, and like you said, people are looking for these things online. It's a lot more personable service. It's a lot more intimate. So having an about page and having a picture of yourself, if you don't have a picture of yourself, I can guarantee that somebody's probably not going to schedule with you because they don't know if it's you or some guy named Harry that just puts up a page and looks like he's a spray tanner. So, they want to know who it is that they're going to go see. And ultimately answer those questions because, like you said, it's still a very unknown industry. People still question it. Is it that thing that makes me orange? Am I going to look like an Oompa Loompa? So on and so forth. So, they want to answer those questions up front. And that the website is essential. And for the cost that you can get them, there's obviously a number of different ways that you can create one. It's definitely worth your time and investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can do a website for cheap, even if you're not looking to round up clients and looking for that Google base. I know 2 things that saved us money on. We never, ever have to give out people printouts for aftercare. We just hand them a business card. Here's our website. You can go on there. So we save money on print stock that way. And also, it also protects your services because you should be guaranteeing your spray tan services based on the prep and aftercare. So if they don't have proper instructions before they come in, you can't really be upset if someone did something wrong because they had nowhere to refer to. And if they're just Googling a generic prep and aftercare, everybody kind of has a little bit different. So they should be going straight to your website.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about that. Saving that money on the print, saving the environment obviously is a huge thing. And just the fact that just another thing that you don't need to worry about designing and spending time and effort on. Hey, the website, you can go in there and change it at any time. If you make a typo on a print, guess what? You got to reprint them all. If it's on your website, guess what? You can log in there and change it. So very good point, Lauren. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Now to dive a little bit deeper into the spray tan, more on the equipment and solution side. Some people like to share this information. If you don't want to, that's fine. But if you want to share the type of equipment and or solution that you use, we'd love to hear that.
So we mostly use Norvell solutions, but we pretty much don't use any straight solutions by itself. Everything is mixed. And then for equipment, mostly Norvell. Most of our trainees use Fuji. Right now with the dollar the way it is, it's pretty expensive to get stuff from Norvell for equipment. So we've kind of found a new company in Canada, and their equipment is amazing, very comparable to Norvell's, I would say, if I'm allowed to say that.
Sure.
But so that's kind of the 2 equipment uses that we use.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And yeah, we're just sharing this information. People can do with it as they want, but it definitely helps to kind of put that out there and let people know. There's tons of different equipment out there, tons of different manufacturers, kind of do some research and find out
Yep.
what works best for you. Yeah, definitely. And when you got started, I know it was a few years back, the training and certification industry in this particular industry has obviously grown a lot over the years. I don't know what was available back when you started, maybe only a couple of trainings such as Norvell because they've been around for so long. But did you go through any training or certification before you got started?
Yeah, Norvell and National Training Institute, which was just an online, everything was online course. I pretty much had to train myself. So lots has changed in the last 6 years. And actually in Canada, there's even not very many options for training, and that's why we do it. But we kind of run a little bit of a different training program. We kind of make people apply just so that we're not getting an oversaturated industry, and so that more girls can be a little bit more successful, and we're not putting 25 girls with our training in their area. So ours is a little bit different, and then they are also obviously open to use whatever solutions they want. So we just kind of give them the basics.
Yeah, and I think that's best. I mean, not putting down any of products or anything like that, but if some certifications are required or it might be through a product and then they push their product versus, hey, we want to give you the training, give you the tools, now you can go decide to do with it as you wish. And a lot of them might be like that, but they kind of try to funnel in one way or another, which makes sense, but it's also good for people to kind of explore their options and find what's best.
We just did a training course this weekend, and we had a girl that went to one that was just a distributing training course, and she had bought a gun that was probably $100 gun on eBay, and she had no idea, and they charged her like $1,500, and they have it rigged up so that no other gun could be attached to it. So now she's gone in and invested in a gun like we have, and she spent double the money, and she had no idea, but she was just doing what she was told, and every time she'd have an issue with it, they were like nothing was being done. Yeah,
and that's unfortunate to hear, but some, people are going to take advantage.
Equipment research is super important, and also where you get your training done, asking questions like if you're going to an independent person like me, there's a lot of girls I know in the States as well that are doing training, just what their volumes are and stuff like that, because they should be doing their training course based on experience.
Absolutely. That's the best way to learn. So obviously the more experience, more than likely the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and something you and I discussed, a question we kind of talked about, and I didn't want to forget to ask this, but do you know of any unique or specific differences between the United States and Canada, since you're the first person I've interviewed from there? As far as any of the solutions, obviously you kind of touched on the certification, but you obviously have to deal with slower shipping, probably more cost of shipping, the tax or customs once it comes across the to you. So is there anything else that you know or want to point out?
Yeah, so actually a lot of the solutions that are in the States can be hard to get over here, because what might be approved by Health Canada, what might be approved in the state might not be approved by Health Canada, so it gets stuck at custom. I've had stuff shipped back before, some stuff I receive, and I'm just like, I don't even know how that got here. But, and it also, like, the cost right now is so expensive. So, in Canada, we're definitely way more limited to what we can use for products. That is a huge thing. So it is hard if you want to bring in another product line, you're limited. And also everything here is more expensive, especially right now. So the shipping cost is more getting here. So I've just looked at things like cutting down our costs on little extra things that we don't need to provide a good service.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, thank you for sharing that information. It's very helpful.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so here for the final question. If you could write a letter to yourself when you were just starting out, what would you say to yourself?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'd probably tell myself, that not to be scared of change or growing. I'm always struggling on change, just because to me, if everything is fine, what's the point of changing? But you should always be open to learning new things, trying new things, new products, and not to be scared to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, as people probably heard me say before, I have a coaster here that my wife got me on my desk that says life begins at the end of your comfort zone, which is very true. We are, by human nature, we want to stay within that comfort zone, but it's actually outside of that you'll find the most success, and I can attest to that so far, that any success that I've had has definitely been uncomfortable at first, but it is interesting how we kind of adapt to that, and change is the only thing that's certain is that there's going to be change, and that we're going to have to change and kind of roll with the punches, so to speak. So that's a very good point to make, Lauren.
Yeah, absolutely. And also another thing would be to always keep up on your education, whether you're just interacting with other people in the spray tan industry. There's always new things going on. I mean, in the last almost 6 years, things have changed so much. And I know with other new solutions are always coming out. So it's good to keep up on that to stay with today's technology, basically.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. And I would recommend for people to not, that's not something they need to do every day, every week, even every month, maybe every 2 months or so, maybe once a quarter you set out a day on your calendar that says, hey, this is my day to explore new training opportunities, new products and things like that. Because otherwise, obviously, you can easily get on Facebook, get stuck in these groups for hours and hours, and before you know it, your day's gone. So don't waste your time. That's the most important, and the one thing that we can't get more of is our time. So make sure you're spending it in a good way that's going to benefit you and your business.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really benefited me having some contacts in the U.S. just because they seem to get new stuff before we do. So I've learned so much even in this last year compared to the last 5 years, just being in contact with some girls and made almost friendships just by, hey, if I have a question or anything like that, someone's always able to answer it. And don't be scared no matter how long you've been in the industry. There's always new things that pop up that you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, don't be scared to ask questions, and the community is very good to help each other. A lot of people are protective of their information, but the whole point of this kind of podcast here was for people to open up and say, hey, look, this is good to share this information. It's some of it's not rocket science. Let's just help each other out. Everybody's competition is a good thing. So helping each other, kind of sharing ideas and information, it's only going to help everyone grow. So thank you so much. That's a very good point. Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you for being the first Canadian on the podcast. It was a great pleasure to speak to you and hear about, Glitz Spray Tanning and how you've grown over the years. It's a very, very great business that you're running over there. I've heard a lot of good things about you. So thanks for everything you do. Thanks for giving back to the community with this podcast. And if anybody has any questions, is there a way that they can reach out to you?
Yeah, so if they're listening to it through any of our Facebook spray tan forums, they can contact me through there, or I have contact information on my website, which is at glitzspraytanning.net.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure to link your website just so nobody has to jot that down in case they want to reach out to you or even view your website to see what you've done, because you found a lot of success through that. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Lauren, again, for spending some time with us. I know you're very busy, so thanks for giving back to the community, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
Hey, Happy Tan listeners, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Thank you so much again to Lauren Bidlock from Glitz Spray Tanning in Alberta, Canada, for joining us, for being the first Canadian interviewee on the podcast as well. That means a lot to us here. As everybody heard there, Lauren put in a lot of hard work into her business. She went from a mobile-only business, just like a lot of our other interviewees went from mobile-only into a physical brick-and-mortar location. That jump, that leap of faith that she took, but it was well worth it. Also, she pointed out a lot of information about how beneficial it was to have a nice website. As everyone knows, I'm a big believer in that as well. We do have the happytans.biz, the first website builder only for sunless tanning, for the sunless tanning industry, which you can use. That is the sponsor of the episode. Again, it's happytans.biz instead of .com. Just go to happytans.biz, the first website builder built specifically for sunless tanners. Thank you so much for joining us today and listening. If you have any questions, as always, you can find me at happytans.com, Grant at happytans.com. You can reach out to me via email or find me on Facebook at the same name, Grant Conscious. I try to stay active in the forums and help where I can if it's something that I do have some insider knowledge on. So thank you so much again for joining us. Thanks again to Lauren Bidlock from Glitz Spray Tanning. Hope that everyone has a wonderful day. Happy tanning.